everything looks good. Alright, guys. Hold on. Nope, I'm good. So, apologies for missing the stream yesterday. Had power issues. But we'll do a little stream tonight. I probably won't go the full 2 hours. But what I'm going to be kind of working on today, I think, is trying to get some of this geo that's over here to more reflect Goblin's Paint Over. So making this, you know, more reminiscent of how that it's actually going to be. I'm going to hide these roads for now. Because this is eventually all going to be kind of painted in stuff, and I don't want that geo's height to kind of influence me at all in any of the decisions I'm making with this other stuff. So, also, I do want to bring this up inch, level this spot out. Then up. Looks like this part is a little high. There we go. Okay. So, again, I'm going to kind of work on this, and then start at the bottom of the bathhouse. I don't know. Maybe I should. I might open Maya a little bit, and then we might play around with getting this tower to work. As you can see, I've already used that shape before, so it's already modeled. So it won't take too long to do that, and I've used it over here as well. So it'll just be kind of breaking that off and then using it on the bathhouse. So let's start with the bank. The bank should be pretty easy. Make sure this is in flat ground. Probably should just snap that. There we go. Got that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 2. Oops. Again, I'm trying to make the doorways for the more commonly used things a little bit more ogre friendly and troll friendly. Okay, so let's delete this. Oops. Did not mean to do that. Looks good. something like that. Push this up. Down. Oh shoot, you know what? Didn't want to extrude that one down. Wanted to bridge that. There we go. So we got a little step up into the into the bank now, and this is going to be pretty easy because I've already made this asset before, so just got to kind of find the center. I already know this is the center line that way, and I'm pretty sure it's that one. Where did I put it? Whoops. As I start to open the 3D view for Windows on my other monitor. So it helps if I'm rotating this correctly. Alright, there we go. And then alright, I think the other one's damaged version. Oops. Put these in place. Like so. So, thinking since this is kind of going to be probably one of the more active areas, considering the inn is going to be here, which I feel like on the concept, here's the inn, here's the bank, here's the bathhouse. I might keep the bathhouse facing this direction, but I like the idea of them all kind of facing inwards towards this center square, which isn't quite a square right now, but I think I remember when we blocked this out. It was almost a month ago now. Time's been flying. I can't remember if we tried it as a square. I think it was because it pushed stuff back off these roads that we wanted. So we'll try it elongated, and then we can always change it up later. Oops, why is... Oh, I must have made an adjustment for the elevation of the ground. So this area might be another spot that I want to play around with the height. I know the concept only has the entrance from here, but I'm thinking of this kind of being more of a two curves. Actually, you know what? Let's do it this way. I'm going to just build these as walls. And use this as kind of a guide. Down. Let's bring up our road again. I do need it for this, just to kind of get an eyeball where this is. I don't know if I'm going to want this to be right up against it or not, but for now, keep it that way. That's the middle. And I'm going to keep it consistent at least. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4. Alright. So now I should just be able to duplicate this and mirror it. Duplicate both of these. Oops. Nope, I want to mirror Z. So something like that. Move this back down because I don't want to see it right now. So here's one of the bright sides of us using Pro Builder for terrain. I can very easily adjust the flow sideways, kind of match the geo I want it to. Okay, works pretty well. And now I'm just going to adjust the ground here down just a pinch. Oops, helps if I grab the entire edge. Oops, you know what? I'm grabbing... Let's do it this way. The click selecting was selecting the geometry itself, which I did not want to do. It's looking pretty good. Maybe I should just work the whole roads while I'm at this. Because we know we want the road running from here straight to there, and these edges are very close to it anyways. So what I'm going to do is select, let's see how far this road actually, oh, that's awesome. It flowed all the way up to where I wanted it to. That one, not so much. It's nice and straight, except for these couple ones. Let's fix them. Let this down a pinch. I think what I'm actually probably gonna end up doing is maybe making this edge more of a more of a ridge on either side. But I'll do that some other time. Right now I just want to be able to come in here and just kind of mark all of the areas that are going to be the road with one of the like cobblestone like textures that we have currently, but since I don't have a full terrain material set up for this purpose yet, and we also need to kind of build out some textures for what we want the cobblestone and stuff to look like. Or, you know, if we keep using the ones that Marie made, I won't have to do much because they'll already be there. Well, actually, I guess I would still have to do stuff because they're not going to be perfect, but it'll be enough for right now. Hope everyone's having a nice St. Patrick's Day. Apologize if I'm like burpy. I just got done a little bit ago eating a ton of corned beef. So I'm a little gassy. Alright, so we got that. Starting to get the shape language down. Did I close that? Oh, I always end up closing my stuff. But so yeah, kind of getting this general shape language. Again, I kind of opened this end up since, you know, this square is kind of gonna have the main road. Although the main road is now wider than it was. But I also did need extra geo to do what I was saying I wanted to do, so that's really not that big of an issue for me. So let's just re-highlight these. And I can't remember if I have the right... Okay, I do. Alt 8 is my desert. There we go. So there we go. I have an actual road kind of marked in now. Now these are going to need the sails. I've done a couple of these types of sails before. I haven't done these ones yet. Not sure if it's going to be better to do those in Maya or to do those in Pro Builder. Like I did these ones in Maya, but I also done similar ones like this and some of the other models that are hidden right now. So, all right, let's see how these are. So this one is kind of a three-pointed, and this one's kind of similar to those smaller ones that I have over there. So let's try one to see how these three-pointed ones work. Pro Builder. Okay, so we will scale this up. Hey, Zukin. I almost could not tell what that emoji was at first because my stream manager is in dark mode and I'm like, I see something there. Hey, Squid Pasta. I did not have any Guinness. As Irish as I am, I'm sure this is going to be blasphemous to some Irish people, but I do not enjoy Guinness. I'm much more of a hard cider and wine when it comes to my adult beverages. Although I did have some nice Irish whiskey tonight, so just not Guinness. To me, Guinness is like a bread milkshake. Yeah, I thought it was a plank or something too. Need to brighten the emotes. Yeah, just a bit. That's the first time I've seen it used, minus me like spamming it initially, and yeah, it's way too dark. I need to actually go through and like actually make some more emojis. Some of those were just like super quick. Like, I need an emoji. I don't have an idea, so I just kind of did Ranger themed ones. But I need to actually like sit down and think that stuff out at some point. Very nice. Hell's Ridge, how you doing? And welcome to the chat. See, that's your first time. I didn't even drink, so you got me beat. I'm a terrible Irishman. But Zukin, do you like Guinness? There's the question. Are you an Irishman who likes Guinness? Because I am definitely very Irish and definitely do not like Guinness. Yeah, first time I've been able to catch you live. Usually lurk in Discord and watch all the VODs. Nice! That's it. It's kind of nice, I guess, being able to, or streaming on an off night compared to my normal schedule. That way, more of you guys get a chance to hang out and chat. So, I'm trying to attach this. Let me bring up the image for everyone who's popping in. So, this was Goblin's kind of paint over of the Geo that me, Ham, Goblin, and Sean kind of roughed out on one of the streams about a month ago. maybe 3 weeks ago. Time is quickly just flowing, and my brain is not retaining when things happen anymore. So much has been going on. Oh, excuse me, that was really gross sounding. I should have muted. But anyways, the the geo was just kind of roughly laid out, so he painted over it. But this I had modeled off of another one of the concepts, so that was already done. I'm just kind of playing around with this stuff now. Although I just made those triangles without doing this beforehand, so that probably would have been more beneficial for me to do it that way. Nice thing with Maya is I could just like easily cut all this stuff in half and not have to worry, but limitations again are good at times. Sometimes they're annoying. Alright, so let's cut that in half now. That in half. Grab these and that one and divide. And then we'll push that in slightly. And that in slightly. And then a little bit of a oops. Oh, come on. Oops, I'm covering up the chat. Sorry, guys. I don't drink any alcohol, so I haven't tried it. Well, if you're asking me, you haven't missed much by not trying Guinness. I'm gonna get. I know somebody is gonna give me some hate for not liking Guinness. But I am not a fan. What am I doing? Oh, smoothing. That was what I wanted to do. So now it's smooth, and let's throw our material on it as I read the rest of this. Hey man, sorry for picking on you last night. Oh. Zukin was talking to Squid Pasta. Oh, it was great. I certainly didn't cry myself to sleep or anything. Fabric. Vertex fabric. And I think that, yeah, so this is white with a pattern on it. So these ones will eventually all get replaced with actual, like, their own individual material with a pattern on it. Or I'll make an extra channel in here that we can drop that kind of detail into. But for now, that'll work. I probably... That is kind of funky. Huh. It's probably the subsurface. I still need to tweak this cloth material a little bit. So let me see if I can find... Try on some of the old geo. Or did I delete all of it? I think I did. Graybox geo. Oh boy, I need to clean up the hierarchy in here again. Stuff is getting crazy. Let just go. Okay. Maybe I did delete it. Hold on. guess I did delete it out of there. Or somebody did. I'm gonna guess it was me. I probably accidentally deleted it. I can always just copy and paste it back in. Oh well. I will make it from scratch. I mean, it was a pretty easy shape to make, so it's just this. With 2 subdivisions, collapse the ends, grab these subdivisions and shrink them in a bit. Whoa, that was not centered. There we go. How many hours do you guys put into M&M a week, do you figure? For me, it depends. I put in a ton last week, but I was also not working as much, so I had the time to. I don't know. It probably ranges between. I mean, there's been a couple weeks where I've done over 40. Last week was probably one of them, or it was probably close to 40. I think over Christmas break I did over 40. But I would say on average probably between 10 and 20 would sound like a good guess. It depends a little bit, because if my classes have, the classes I teach, if they have some work time, which granted they're studio-based classes, so there is a decent amount of work time. If I don't have any questions or anything like that in a particular day, I'll just have either Maya or Unity open, and I'll be working on stuff while I'm waiting for questions. After I go around and talk to the students and stuff. So it can vary. There's differences between individual classes, or I mean sometimes just individual like days of the class. Some days you're getting hounded, some days you're not. So I'd say on average 10 to 20, 10 to 15, probably closer to 15. But I haven't actually like actively been tracking a lot of it. Last week I know with the new dungeon I probably put in 20, maybe a little under 20 hours on the dungeon just itself. Official storm season here. Got the stream up and watching them roll in the background. I love watching storms roll in. I live close to the lake still, but I used to literally live across the street from Lake Erie when I was younger, and that was always awesome, just like watching the storms roll in on the Great Lakes and water spouts and all that kind of fun stuff. So I'm definitely a fan. Hold on, what is going on here? I know what's going on. Oh. Sorry if you guys hear my son screaming in the background. He's playing video games. It sounded like he probably just died. There we go. Okay. So again, yeah, that material will be replaced or moved or something like that. But yeah, definitely huge fan of watching storms rolling off the lake. I'm a huge fan of just like rain in general. I had in college, me and my roommate's apartment had on one snap. Had this really awesome balcony. I mean, it was basically like an outdoor room that just wasn't like, you know, screened in or anything like that. But it went the entire length of the house and was probably 6 or 7 feet, like, in depth. And I used to just, whenever it was like raining, I would just go out there and sit on like one of the papasan chairs, curl up in a blanket, and just like listen to music in the rain or something like that. Super peaceful. Work's been keeping me doing things tragic, so I'm not putting in as much as I'd prefer. I was able to work on stuff during the day here and there when it was less demanding. Yeah, I totally get that for sure. This is a human door. I'm trying to remember. What did I settle on? 2? Yeah, 2 by 7.5. Or no, 7. Or not. Why do I keep saying 7? 2 by 3 and 7, 5. Oh, let's. Oh yeah, I prefer a rainy day. I feel more productive when it is raining out for some reason. Yeah, me too. I'm like wired differently than a lot of people, I realize, because I am more productive like at night. I'm more productive when it is raining. Like, I don't know. I'm just wired differently than a lot of people, I think. Which is fine. Everyone's got their own thing going on. I also live on the Great Lakes. It's nice for sure. Oh, awesome. Yeah, I'm pretty much born and raised in the around Lake Erie in Cleveland. You're in Oklahoma, so unfortunately the storms we get this time of year are usually a little more gnarly. Yeah, I would imagine being in Tornado Alley, that would be a little bit more gnarly for sure. I mean, we get some gnarly storms around here for sure as well, but oops, that was not what I wanted to do. They're probably a little less frequent. But some of the storms that come off the lake can get crazy. Lake Ontario for you? Awesome. I'm trying to think. Have I been to Ontario or Lake Ontario? I think I've seen it. I don't think I've been in it. I think I've only been in Erie, Michigan, and Superior. And Superior is cold. Even in the middle of the summer, it is cold. And my God, we went for vacation in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. There were so many sandflies. Those things are so mean. If you've never been caught in a swarm of them, consider yourself lucky. They are brutal. I remember here chasing my oldest son, I think it was. Yeah, it was my oldest son, and he was yelling out how they were. It was a fly tornado or something like that. But man, those things hurt. I mean, horse flies are pretty brutal too. But man, those sandflies were nasty. Superior is so pretty. Yeah, it is so like it is so blue compared to Erie. Erie is like almost in a perpetual like greenish muddy color. I mean, it can still be beautiful, but it's definitely you can tell visually that it's the shallowest of the Great Lakes. Not sure what I want to do on the interior of the baths yet, but probably have some rooms. I mean, even inside the bank, I'm gonna have to think about like, you know, how the bank's gonna get laid out and stuff like that. But I'm just kind of for tonight gonna take it easy and just kind of rough in the general shapes of stuff. So we've got that. We need. As I grab the wrong window. We need a tower that's similar to these ones, but turns into a square. So let's open up the Maya file of. I'll just do the turret, I guess, since that one is closer to it. Let's see. I've only been to Cleveland once, and we did a road trip in a weekend. Do not recommend. The road trip or Cleveland? Because depending on where you go in Cleveland, I wouldn't recommend. And then there's other places that are pretty cool, but depends where you go. The type of fly that bites out of, yeah, definitely. Yeah, they were they look almost like normal flies, but they were all over the sand area, like the beachy areas. And the one day we were out there, it was super windy, and we were like, oh good, they're not there. But they were all hiding, like all the big rocks. There were some big rocks, like the size of my head or larger, and they were just all over the side of it. And then when you would walk past them, they would just like pop up and then fly at you, and the wind would just smack them into you. Man, those little suckers would bite so hard. The road trip, not much sleep, lots of Red Bull. I enjoyed road trips. It's been a couple years. I did a road trip with my friend to visit her family down in Florida, and I'd never been to Florida, so we went to SeaWorld and Hollywood Studios. Sadly, it was before it was like it was a year or two before Galaxy's Edge opened up. So I was the weird Star Wars nerd wearing a Star Wars shirt, like trying to take pictures of Galaxy's Edge over the construction barriers. Yeah, that was me. But besides that, whoa, why did that come in without materials? Besides that, yeah, I'm actually a huge fan of road trips. The other one I did, actually with the same friend, but it was back when we were dating. We rented a camper van. We flew into Vegas, rented a camper van. We like stayed in one of the casinos for a day and walked like half the strip. Then we picked up the camper van and drove or did the other half of the strip, and then basically just drove all over Arizona. We drove, you know, through Nevada into Arizona all the way to Four Corners, and then went to Grand Canyon, and then Flagstaff. We were gonna hike Humphreys Peak, but my friend was a little under the weather in terms of, like, I think she caught a like a sinus infection or something like that. So she was not doing well I think we got up to like 9,500 feet, and I was like, I don't really particularly want someone to, I don't want her to, like, keel over and then we have to drag her down the mountain, so we stopped. But there's an old crashed B-24? It's B-24 or B-25 on the mountainside that we were going to hike up to, but we did not make it. And then what else did we do? We did like Meteor Crater and went to Phoenix, and it was fun. But the camper van itself was awesome because we didn't have to spend money on a hotel. Obviously fuel kind of sucked a little bit, but for the most part, we just would pull up and go camp, or pull up at the end of the night and then just camp wherever we pulled up, and it was actually pretty comfortable and stuff like that. But I'm also a huge fan of like camping and like rustic camping and backpacking and stuff like that, so putting me in a camper van with a more comfortable mattress than like the back seat of a car, or just sitting in the front seat of a car, or laying in like the back of like a station wagon, or a whatchamacallit, an SUV. I'm not going to complain. Oh, and she's apparently watching. And she confirms. But I don't know if she wants me to use her name, so I will not use her name. So Kay Bryn is the friend that we went camping. But yeah, no, totally awesome. Totally, it was worth the money for sure. Cleveland was pretty nice, but we literally were only there for a couple hours. My buddy was buying some audio recording equipment off Craigslist. It was kind of a big gamble, but it was worth it in our 20s. Sounds like my friends. My friends were all into audio equipment back in our 20s and in high school. So that's definitely something some of them would have done. But yeah, definitely a fan of road trips. He did go on one again sometime. Minus, I technically, I guess, I road trip every summer, to pick my kids up from their mothers, and then we kind of do like a small road trip on the way back. But it's usually like the same route almost every year, so it feels less like a trip. Okay, so we got that, which will be this shape. No, it needs to go to a square, so I need to continue. I think what I'm going to do, since these are going to be the middle, is I will just continue this down. Obviously, I'm going to play with the scale a little bit more when I get into when I get back into Unity. Let's try this. So we'll try an extrusion. Perfect. And snap these together. Excuse me. And here's the thing. Do I want to... I deleted the base of these. I probably should have left that. Alright, so let's do it this way. Got carried away with my camper van story and just started deleting everything. Let's fill hole. And... shoot. Okay, I'm not going to do it that way. We will... What's better than cooking bacon in the back of your van in the middle of the desert? That was awesome. Yeah, we were in the middle of Sedona cooking, because the van itself in the back, you pulled it out, had this little kitchenette. And I was cooking some bacon and making all the other like hikers and stuff that were there like super jealous. They're all like staring at us and commenting like how good the bacon smelled. But it was pretty epic. It was probably the coolest part, I think. Not maybe not the coolest part, but one of the coolest parts was I fell asleep in the van. I think it was like the first night we had it, and then we had pulled over. So when we pulled over and slept in this gas station, essentially this parking lot, it was like pitch black. You couldn't see anything. We woke up the next morning and there was like these beautiful just like red rock mountains, and I don't remember, was there a little bit of snow on them? I feel like there was. I could just be getting old and crazy, which I probably am, but I feel like there was snow, like a little bit of snow on them, and it by the morning, or like within the hour, it was gone. But I could be crazy. That knife tool treats you a lot better than Maya. Oh yeah, this thing is so much better in this program than it is in with Pro Builder. The one in Pro Builder makes me sad. Because this one I can just like cut and jump across faces and do whatever I want, really. And the one in Pro Builder just, I feel like it was put there to fight me at every turn. Okay, so I'm gonna put an edge down here. So I was playing around with this, and I have to tweak this model a little bit. I need to tweak both models a little bit to make it work a little bit better. As you can see, it doesn't work quite as well in here because it needs more. Bleh. I need to speak better, but it needs more vertices to actually work. But since I'm using the same material up there as I am here, and what I did was just threw vertex color into the vertices. So I put a slightly darker brown there and down here and stuff like that. And you can see how this area looks really flat. Then you start to get a little bit of definition. So I'm going to play around with it and add a little bit more geometry. It works pretty well here, but it's probably tapering off too far. Because how it works is it's the colors basically this vertex, and then it just blends to whatever the next vertex is. So because the vertexes are so far, it's rather pronounced effect, which is probably more so than I want it to be, but it actually does a pretty decent job of adding a little bit of shading to it, like there should be. And if we're using, granted this is kind of a placeholder texture itself, but if we're using textures that are similar across a lot of our objects, those objects can almost feel like they have their own individual like shading pass on it. So I need to clean those up a little bit more, but I'm going to play with that a little bit right here. So just kind of giving myself a shorter area right there. Oops. I need to remake this into quads. Hold on a second. Oops. And that didn't do it like I wanted it to. So we'll make these back into quads. Paytas, for that guild hall, is that a player guild hall or is that a class guild hall when you train and shit? Assuming it's the second one, is it particular class building yet? See, I'm not 100% on what we want to use. If that's going to be more of a class style, honestly, that's kind of what I'm feeling that one is as well, as opposed to like guild hall at, you know, a player guild hall. Regardless, the interior needs some work. I think Sean even said it on when I mentioned it on his stream earlier today, that, you know, maybe like some split level or something like that. So I was kind of thinking along the lines of, you know, you like walk into here and then maybe this is a little bit of a stairway down, and then this area on the sides is a little bit more elevated, and then maybe, you know, this area is a little bit down, and then maybe there's like a stairwell up here. Because if this does, you know, if this is like a guild area for like a class, very, you know, very classic feeling to kind of stick the class, you know, vendor, or not the class vendor, but the class trainer kind of at the end there. If it is more of a guild hall for like players, I think I'd want to add another floor like in the basement, and maybe extend up a little bit into a second floor. But that'll kind of change that depending on what we want, what the usage exactly is for what we want to do. And why am I flying around? I want to go back in over here. Okay, so we got that. Give myself an edge there. And an edge there. I really need to clean that up. This already has an edge, but probably should give myself another one. Actually, no. That's such a tiny detail. We'll leave it like that. Does need an edge is these. I'm gonna delete these and rebridge them in a minute. So that looks pretty good. So what I'm gonna do now is just cut this across, and I'm just limiting the amount of cleanup I need to do because I'm gonna have to clean up stuff up here. I already know that. We're just going to do it this way. I'm just going to manually do it because I'm going to end up having more cleanup if I try to do it as an edge loop. But yeah, you guys can really get a good example of why I like the cut tool, or the multi-cut tool is what this version is. In Maya, as opposed to the cut tool in Pro Builder. Hey Regis, I'm doing pretty good. Had my fill of corned beef for St. Patrick's Day, so can't complain. How are you doing? Neck's a little stiff though. If I have to complain about anything, I guess that's it. Alright, let's get some edge slide on and try to clean these up just a pinch. Doing good? Good. So today, I will show you in 1 second. Working off of this, and earlier in the stream I kind of cleaned up a little bit of the geo back from when Ham, Goblin, Sean, and I were all kind of blocking this out together on stream, and I kind of roughed out the exterior of the bank and kind of gave it an interior. I didn't actually, you know, kind of go in here and kind of figure out exactly how I want to lay this stuff out, so that needs to happen. And then I did a layout for kind of just the brief interior for the bathhouse, and then kind of did the roads and, you know, made this little square area right here. So right now what I'm doing is modifying the top of the guild hall and the turret over here, this shape, to match the top of the bathhouse in the excuse me, in the concept here. The one thing I'm doing a little bit differently though is I was playing around with this last night, and this model was not modeled with the intention to do this. I just decided to try it, and it's working, but it needs more it needs help because of the edge loops don't run in the right direction or the right spot. So what I did is I colored the vertex of this, so I can actually show you guys exactly what I did. So like if I select this vertex and I go to vertex color and I apply the red, it tints that vertex red, but it blends it to whatever the other color is. So the whole thing was a light brown, and then I used a darker brown on these edges just to give it a little subtle shading, which from the back helps it pop a little bit more. So these areas right now that don't have anything, you can see how it really flattens out. This kind of just gives it a little bit more like subtle depth. It's a little too pronounced right there, but on this cleanup version, I'm putting in these extra vertices here that should help clean that up. Now I'm gonna have to do a bunch of cleanup because I just put a bunch of extra edge loops in here. So it's a little annoying, but I think it'll end up having a pretty cool effect. Be right back, letting the dog out. Oh, hopefully I didn't see that. I hope you were able to hear my explanation. If not, let me know. I can re-explain what's going on. It's wild how close that looks to the concept. Well, it's pretty easy. I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty easy working off of Goblin's concepts. For the most part, like everything I need to really like visualize what's going on is there. Yeah. Are you just gonna be in the front? Are you playing with your lightsaber? Okay. Bring keys down. Sorry there. My son's gonna go play lightsaber. Oops. But yeah, so I just got to kind of go in here now and kind of clean these up, so that they work. But they should, in theory, allow me to add a little bit of a dark shadow, and it not be too overpowering where it's going out to here. Part of it will also be color. So the actual like shade value I might have to tone down as well, but the main problem was definitely the fact that the geo just wasn't designed. I didn't make the geo with that intention. So if this works on this one, I may end up just kind of going back in and adding some extra edge loops to the original models as well. Yeah, the angle you hit. An explanation. Match Goblin's art exactly. Well, thank you. Yeah, it really. I work really well when I have something visually. I mean, I can concept and I can freestyle, especially like dungeon. I didn't have a visual for it. Ham did a write up on it, but he was also very descriptive in his write up. So, you know, that made it very easy to visualize as well. But yeah, no, if I have something to kind of go off of, I usually do pretty. I'm usually able to hit it, unless it's a really, really funky style that I'm not used to. Then it might take a little bit of practice and you know, like toying with stuff to see what I need to do to get there. But that's kind of a fun process too. I'm naturally like I'm kind of a tinkerer, so I enjoy a little bit of like look dev type tinkering every now and then. Okay, so we got that. Oops, no, hold on. I'm grabbing the wrong. I started grabbing everything, but thankfully I actually paid attention somewhat. Okay. So right now I'm just kind of going around and visually cleaning up some of these extra vertices from playing around with that. I really don't like this pole right here. Oops. Helps if I was paying attention to the correct edges. Unfortunately, the number of edges we kind of settled on for the sides of some of these objects is not it's not perfectly oh, actually this one's good, but some of them they don't line up perfectly. All right, so we got that. I may as well just lay out all the UVs because I did so much to it. All right, so let's see. Oh, you know what? I also need to fill these back in. So we will mesh fill hole. And then I'll just triangulate these to speed this up. So like that. Okay, so let's do a projection on that again. And then we will project actually just select it like this one's already good. Whoops, I have edge snapping on. What are UVs? So these are UVs. So you can think of a UV like you take a three-dimensional object and you flatten it out. So like filleting a fish or cutting the seams on a box so that it lays flat. That's essentially what it's doing, and it's taking a 2D texture. So I just turn on a default checker grid. But for instance, this circle that I just was playing with has, you know, part of the zero, or part, there are almost two full zeros, the tip of this one, the full one here, a little bit of the V and a little bit of the U. So if I move up to the top, you can see that image. So it's basically just where are the coordinates for the 2D picture that makes up the texture. So when you are, you know, when you're laying them out, there's a whole bunch of different processes, and it can be a fairly complex thing for some people to get the grasp of. I know I've had students that really struggle with it. I've had students that get it like instantly. But it is one of the more common things that I've noticed that students will get caught up on is the UVing process. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. UV stands for U and V, so it's just the so U is sideways and V is up. It's like XY or XYZ coordinates. So yeah, so like right now I'm gonna unfold along V, so it just unfolded vertically. It's like a wrapping paper. Thankfully no, because I am terrible at wrapping GIFs. I'm good with 3D geometry, but I'm garbage when it comes to folding GIFs. And I'm sure if Kay Bryn is still in here, she will confirm that as well. But it's kind of the opposite of like gift wrapping. It's, you know, like unwrapping. Actually, one of the commonly used visual aids is those little Santa chocolates you get that you put in. Oh, 1,000%. Or is that 1,000,000%? That's 1,000,000%. But yeah, the little chocolate Santas that are wrapped in foil. When you unfold and unwrap it, it's just a big picture that's kind of like flat. You can think of that as the texture when it's flat, and when it's wrapped around it, that's what the texture looks like on a 3D model. So that's one of the methods I use to help students kind of visualize it. But it's definitely one of those processes that it takes a bit to master, just because and actually I just had this conversation with a student the other day. Every model is basically kind of like a new puzzle to be solved, because it depends on what you're doing. So for instance, I could be using this texture, flat, so that basically I'd have to paint this, but I could also use it in like a trim sheet method where, like if I wanted this UV1 to wrap around this, I could lay that all perfectly straight, which is actually what I'm going to do. Not because I want UV1 on there, but just because I want the bricks to be able to follow around it. So I can actually show an example, because I believe I did that with up here. Although this is a little stretched. I need to actually fix this. I hadn't looked at it, but you can keep it kind of flowing along. But yeah, I'm gonna have to play around with those UVs. I didn't look at these with the texture on it yet. But same process. I just gotta let them unfold a little bit better. Okay, so let's turn that off so I can see what's going on. And what is this? Okay, these are the tops. These are probably the sides. Where is the doorway? Also, one thing you can do is visually just like look. So I can see these white, at least in I can visually look and go, okay, these edges need to snap together. And then I can do snap together, and it'll kind of fill in. I'm guessing this needs to go right here. And this is, again, is one of those things that, like, visually I can look. I've been doing this for so long, I can look at this and kind of know what is what. And I know the model because I built the model. If I was doing a model that somebody else had modeled, it might take me longer to do, just because I'm not familiar with the geometry. The more familiar you are with the geometry, the easier it is to know what part of the model you're looking at. Sorry, I'm trying to do this so you guys can see the UVs. But also I can see the 3D view if I want to use it. And you can see it here, I kind of jump it back and forth between using 3D and 2D. Especially when I'm using just there's like a bunch of those little squares and stuff like that. I find it a lot easier just to kind of come here and be like, okay, I know I want these two to match up. I can see right here that I don't want this attached to that side, so I'll just give that a border and stitch those together. And we need to cut those. Oops. GD is so 20th century. Unfortunately, we still use 2D in 3D to some degree. There are other ways of texturing that don't necessarily revolve around this type of stuff, but most texturing, especially game-wise, is done this way. Oh shoot, did I forget to cut those? No, they were already cut. Okay, good. pretty good. Let's snap these. And then after, you know, I've kind of got them in their own little islands. One other thing you want to do, and the reason this checker pattern is here, is you look at this and you just kind of see, like, is this super distorted? So if I unfold that along, it makes them more square. These are, you know, stretched out, so just unfold those along, and then those are nice and straight now too. Although this should not still be attached there. Oop, that did not cut. I was thinking, or I think I'm getting that. Whoa, 2D is gold. How goes the adventure? It's going pretty good. Just grinding away. Brick by brick, we're slowly building a world. Or a zone, I guess. Zone first, world second. Although, I mean, I built an entire zone. Last Tuesday. Or no, 2 Tuesdays ago. Time is flying. Alright, you know what? Let me take that back. I don't want to do it that way. I will do it this way. Let me turn this off so you guys can see a little bit. Okay. And you see, like, this is all overlapping right now, which is you don't want. You can have some overlapping depending on what you're doing. And because we're going to be using a lot of either trim sheets or tiling textures, for the most part, it doesn't matter too much, but that's not the kind of tiling I really want. Or, not tiling, but overlapping. Now, the question is, will the algorithm actually stack these? Nope, actually, it probably won't, because I did something by hand. So let's just orient these shells. It's a problem with some of these tools. The tools that are more like algorithm based, they tend to be more kind of like hit or miss. Like sometimes they work great and sometimes they don't. So today I moved my project from ultra wide monitor to my new monitor. Excuse me. The aspect ratio made it so my model was super tall, so I spent the day correcting my geometry. Oh man. What's the difference between the field of the field of view on it? I could see how that could definitely mess with stuff. But I might, instead of adjusting the geo, I might try adjusting the field of view on the camera for the game. But I don't have an ultra wide monitor. I have like an ultra wide setup, but it's 3 monitors. Algorithm based equal generally bad in my experience anyways in the 2D world. Yeah, definitely. I mean, not that they're all bad, but especially with some of the 3D stuff, like when it works it's great, but then other times you're just like, nope, okay, I'm doing it this way. So sometimes I don't even bother. So these are definitely going to need to be larger. And let's rotate it this way. And ideally, if I was doing like again, we're using tiled textures, so it doesn't really matter if these are all stacked. Technically, you want to stack stuff in the 0 to 1, which is this square right there. But because I'm using tiled textures and I don't have like the texture itself to actually play with the UVs. A lot of these I've been kind of just spreading out, so when we have the final textures, I can actually come back in here pretty easily, grab the stuff and move it around. Especially if you're using trim sheets and stuff like that. It'll already be cut up. It just will take a little bit of extra time to get it attached. Okay, I need to see where these are. All right, so that, and we will snap that. And I need to fix that little bit of overlap, which actually, again, really probably doesn't matter for what I'm doing, but okay, what do we got going on over here? Aha. So that's another thing when you're doing 3D models. If you see something weird in the UV and you're like, what is going on right here? Usually means you messed something up in the model. And when I was doing selections, I did not close that properly. So let's just check all these other ones to make sure I didn't make that same mistake. That looks good. But UVs are usually, or at least for me, one of the easiest ways to kind of be like, oh, I made a mistake there. Oops. No, stop selecting. Oh, you know what? I have vertices selected. I wanted UVs selected. You used to not actually be able to mess with the, if you had vertices selected in here, you couldn't actually do anything, which making it that way kind of made some things easier, but then some tools you actually only have the vertices, so you get both parts of it as opposed to just the one. I was building in Blender games for games for the game. The ultra wide is fine. Okay. Yeah, if you're using the if that's the resolution you're planning on playing at, then that makes more sense too. Okay, so this is the top portion of this. Let's break this up a bit, and then we will snap these to there. Oops, if I hit the right button. Cut that. This is one of those things where screen space starts to get a little annoying. Okay, so let's stitch that together. Oops. Did not want that to come along for the ride. Okay, so now we'll stitch these together. I don't want to stitch the other ones together, but I do want to start fixing these gaps. When you make textures for the UVs, do you have to be, or do you have to consider the geometry, or is it like a reaction to how it warps? So there's different ways to go about texturing. So for instance, if right now I've been throwing like just tiled textures on there, which again, you know, we're probably going to do another pass on once we kind of have everything in here and we kind of can like lock in, okay, these are all what we want. And Goblin has some ideas for things as well that he wants to paint, but he's currently working on cleaning up some of the armor and chopping it up or he's chopping up the armor a little bit so that we can have different layers and stuff like that. But excuse me, you can start with a texture, like a tile texture, and just throw it on there. As long as it's flat, it should be flat and not like streak and crush too badly. Then you just kind of have to play with the like where are the seams. So for instance, like, you know, having a seam right here tucked into a corner is fine because, you know, it's hitting at like kind of like perpendicularly. So the texture seam isn't as noticeable. If it's like running right here, it becomes more noticeable because the pixels break. The other way is to go into something like Substance Painter, which I've done on stream before, but it's been a little bit. But you can paint like physically onto a mesh. So once you lay out the UVs, I can come over here and I can literally like paint in with brushes and different material. Like I can paint either colors. I can paint into individual color channels, or like the normal map channel, the roughness channel, the color channel, like whatever channel I want to really. Then I can do, you know, all sorts of different things that way by painting directly onto the mesh. So there's painting onto the mesh, there's just throwing a texture on there, and then there's trim sheets, which generally work better when you have the trim sheet before you start modeling or before you start UVing. So you can kind of, basically you have these strips that are either horizontally or vertically, and they're just trims. And you just kind of stretch the UVs to go along with the area you want it to be in. But you can get a lot of use out of a really well set up trim sheet. Why is this not... Something weird's going on. You know what? I think I have the triangles. Yep, the triangle pieces are left out. So let's snap that one together. Shoot. All right, let's do this a little bit differently. I'm going to run into the same problem I had before, where it's overlapping. Stitch those together. Oops. So these two. Oh, you know what? I'm doing this all off screen. Sorry. And we'll sew those. And then we'll just relax them back into position. Where am I in chat? I'm a bit afraid to UV unwrap this coffee pot I'm modeling because I intend for it to be chrome, and I don't know what the best placement for the seams should be. Yeah, that's a kind of back to what I was saying earlier. Every model ends up giving you its own like puzzle to solve, and so I mean sometimes you there's just not a perfect answer for something. I've definitely had that happen multiple times where it's like, ooh, like I'm gonna have to sacrifice this to get, you know, it to work here, but because of that, you know, I really am messing up this one thing. So it really does become like a little bit of a sacrifice, a give and take to kind of figure out what is the most important part of the texture to you. Now, if it's straight chrome, it might not be too bad. If it's chrome that has like some noise or something on it, or, you know, has a little bit of roughness to it where you can actually like see a little bit of the whatever the roughness map is, that'll probably cause a little bit more problems when you're excuse me, when you're actually laying out the UVs. This is all rocket surgery to me, but it's so interesting. Yeah, I get it totally. For the longest time for me too, like I didn't understand anything. I remember being interested in animation and stuff as a kid and asking my parents like, how did they do that animation? And then they'd give me like the basic, you know, flipbook style answer, which isn't wrong, but also wasn't answering the question that I really was asking. And you know, I also assumed that like all the backgrounds and stuff were drawn frame by frame, where, you know, you watch the old classic Disney movies, and I mean most cartoons as well. Well, older cartoons, maybe not cartoon modern stuff, but a lot of those are just, you know, oil paintings or watercolors in the backgrounds. And then the characters are the cell shaded looking portions that actually animate. Become a rocket surgeon, pasta. I intend to push it into the hyper real texturing. Yeah. I think you can. It depends on, again, because chrome itself, like polished chrome, is fairly no, I don't want to say it's easy, but it doesn't have as much noise in it, so you can get away with the UVs a little bit. The problem will come if you're like adding some variation to the roughness map, and you don't want like a mirror chrome finish, or have like normal maps and stuff you need to project down onto it, or not down onto it, but you want to like have raising off of it. Then you actually have to worry about where the UVs are a little bit more. Okay, so we got those. What are these? Okay, those are the inner portion of this. It got broken up. Let's stitch that together. That together. I'll make sure I'm leaving one. Yep, let me undo that one. I want one that's completely vertical, and all the other parts are just like weirdly broken up because I did a cube projection and not a like cylindrical projection. But this part was all column based, so that's why I didn't do it for the entire thing. Stitch those together. Okay, looks pretty good. And then I'm just going to unfold that and attempt to do a straighten. Cool. Doesn't always work 100%, but that worked pretty well. I mean, it will straighten, but sometimes it will like crumple in on itself. What are you making? A replica of a 1930s percolator to put into Unreal and mess around with Lumen and RTX. Lumen is so nice. I'm a huge Unreal fan. Okay, so we got those. What are these? These are probably those strips in there. So let's just make sure that they're all, for now, again, because I don't have the actual textures that these are going to be based off of, I'm not caring as much about the placement of some of this stuff. All I'm caring about is that they're kind of similar in pixel density. So you can gauge pixel density by looking at, like, for instance, I'm just using the Maya default cube texture. Or not cube, but checker pattern. So if the checkers are essentially close to the same size, that means the same amount of pixels will be in there. So right now, this area right below is very dense, and this area up here with the larger pixels is not very dense. So I just need to balance these. And eventually, like I said, I'm going to do a trim sheet on this, but I'm not going to do that right now. I just want to get this in because I'm kind of going longer. I'm actually making this a full length stream, which I didn't intend on doing. So that's close. These probably need to be a little bit larger. And then these will as well. So there you go. Close enough for me for now. And then actually what I also need to do is bring this down because where'd my image go? Oh, it's over here. This is, you know, fairly fairly tall. I did not make it that tall. I just noticed that. So let's make it taller. Let's something like that. This is probably also going to be very large when it gets into the game. So let's bring this down more. Two, three, four. Something like that. And then I'll kind of worry about the scale once it's in there. But let's do a couple other things real quick. Freeze the transform. We will grab this area since I just stretched it and unfold it And then let's center this and rotate it 45 degrees. And kind of ground it on the plane there. And then I'm gonna also put the translation pivot point on the ground, so it should snap right to the ground, like so. Okay, so we'll do that, and let's save this as Paytas, do you ever work in 2D advertising? Not too much. I've done 2D stuff here and there, but advertising and graphic design is not my strong suit, admittedly. And I used to be like all right at drawing. I wasn't like amazing, like rock star at drawing by any means, but my traditional drawing skills have suffered because for the last like 16, 17 years, I've gotten so used to drawing on tablets and Control Z to undo stuff and be able to edit the stuff that I do real easily. So when I'm using traditional media, it's less than desirable results. I look at it and I'm like, why can't I draw this like I used to? All right, so, but drawing and stuff like that is I mean, it's just like anything. It's a muscle, so if you don't flex it, you lose the muscle memory to some degree. Okay, so let's save. We'll export. And then we'll put it in the engine, and then that'll probably, what time is it? Yeah, I'll probably call it once we get it in there and scaled up nicely. Night Harbor, Bathhouse Tower. Let's move that over here. And we'll fly back over here. And I'll import it into my Night Harbor buildings. Night Harbor Bathhouse Tower. Yeah. Let's give it a collision. Oops, that was not what I wanted. And one I can color. And we'll drag it in. Wow, that's somewhat close to the scale. Oh, let's hit apply. Here's a test. Okay. I don't have to do cleanup. This one over here, when I pro builderized it, there was like something wrong. I can't remember. I messed something up that I didn't catch, and it took me forever to find it. It was driving me crazy. Let's do it from the pivot. So like that. It's probably a little large. Actually, That's closer than I thought it was gonna be. I usually don't get that close with because I didn't actually sit there and measure that out too much. That was surprisingly close. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It should still be centered. Yes, it is. Okay, awesome. So now I can assign it the vertex color. I think that was the one I used, right? Yeah, that one. And then we can grab these vertices. Well, I'm grabbing the edges, but the edges are grabbing both the vertices that are attached to. And I can apply the darker one. And it gives a nice little subtle shade. This right here is the one I'm interested to see how it looks. May have to clean up those areas a bit. Looks pretty good, actually. Nice. So you can see how just that little extra subtle shading kind of helps break it up visually. So this kind of sits back a little bit and doesn't kind of flatten itself out like that. So let me... Actually, I could probably just do this. Those. Oops, did I grab the whole thing? No, probably not. Why is that not applying? Okay, that was annoying. Again, the colors on this stuff will probably end up changing once the material is finished, but for now, works pretty well. Good. I did not do this. That's good. That's good. Alright, so that's about as far as I'm going to get tonight, guys. Obviously, I still need a little bit more work to bring it to this. Need some more of those these little posts kind of sticking out of it. Need to build some cooling some more square rectangular cooling towers, which we have not built yet. So I'll need to build one of those and then build that off, and then play around with some more of these like sails and drapery and stuff like that. I'm sure there's a technical name for that. Actually, my cousin owns a drapery business. He probably could tell me that if he was watching. All right, let me see if I get caught up on chat. Let's see. Last thing I did was advertising. Yeah, I didn't do it. Turning Cog says, I used to in the early 2000s. My buddy and I were sent to a state competition for graphic design advertising. I came away with second place. Oh, that's awesome! Congratulations on that. Yeah, graphic design is. I mean, I can do it. It takes so long. I am. I am not. It is not my my forte for sure. What you guys make? Oh, it's for Powerade. Oh, that's awesome. Used Illustrator. Cool. Yeah, Illustrator seems like a good one to use. That are for that. Thanks for the insight into the UVs. You are a gem patus. Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, any questions and stuff like that. I always enjoy helping people out and teaching people stuff. I mean, that's my day job as a teacher, so I always do that kind of stuff. So if you guys ever need it, if you guys ever want me to explain anything like that as I'm going along, please feel free to ask. Later, Regis. All right, guys. I just realized that the music had stopped playing. I was so in the zone. That's probably, yeah, YouTube probably timed out like an hour ago. I apologize about that, guys. But thanks for hanging out with me. Happy St. Patty's Day to everybody. And I will catch you guys later. Well, actually, before I start doing all that, let me do the house cleaning because I have not done this at all today. Terrible streamer. But if you guys are anybody's new to the stream and new to the game, we are making a indie MMO that's very grounded in the, oh my god, excuse me guys, in the classic kind of first generation MMOs. So I think your EverQuests, Ultima Online, you know, Dark Age of Camelot, Asheron's Call, that era, so late 90s, early 2000s. If you would like to, feel free to join our Discord community. I think there's 732, I think was the last time I looked. Excuse me, people in there. We have all sorts of conversations about game design and our game and stuff like that. So feel free to join. If you'd like to stay up to date but don't feel like joining Discord, join our mailing list. Here are the list of all of the streamers we have on the team. So if you haven't already followed them, make sure to follow them. If you'd like to get caught up on any of our past VODs, including this one, if you didn't catch the beginning of it and want to catch it, we have a YouTube channel that all the team members upload our VODs to. So check those out. If you are watching this on YouTube, please remember to like and subscribe and comment below on what you think of the stuff we were working on today. And I will talk to you guys later. My next stream should be Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I usually do Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, except for yesterday when I didn't have power. So I will I'll catch you guys on Monday. Have a good weekend. Bye. And I'm about to exit the wrong program.